Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Mark Sudduth here, Lakeland, Florida, and it is time for a very important update again, a little bit after noon here on Tuesday, October the 8th. A lot of important stuff to go over. I'm going to try to squeeze out all of the stuff that I have learned over the past 25 to 30 years in my work studying hurricanes, meteorologically and the social aspect, the meetings that I've gone to, the conferences, the colleagues that I have made, all of us in the business, whether it's myself, people in the media, and on social media, even people that have no college training for this stuff. I do, went to college for it, but it doesn't matter now. Now we're all trying to work together and get the pertinent information out that can, number one, save your life, and number two, hopefully mitigate property damage. But this is one of those situations where we need to prepare for the after part. What is it all going to look like when the sun comes up during the day on Thursday? Kind of a grim way to view this, but we've got to face the reality that we're going to be dealing with an historic hurricane for the state of Florida after we just had one a couple of weeks ago. So let me get started and show you the first and most important aspect of all of this. The storm surge will be destructive, extremely life-threatening, as the storm surge unit themselves have posted here on social media. And this is very important. The numbers have not changed, and hopefully they don't go up. That could still happen. We're talking 10 to 15 feet in the purple, 5 to 10 feet in the red, 4 to 7 feet down near Collier, parts of Lee County, maybe the border there, Naples, and points north. Not good at all, and this you need to take seriously. Don't be worrying about the category or what the wind is and try to second guess things. You need to worry about the water rise above ground level, and if this happens near high tide, it'll be at the peak levels that we see here. Storm surge is very intricate and very difficult to forecast down to street level in a certain area of the coast. So that's why we get the broad brush look that in these areas you expect up to 10 to 15 feet, for example, in those purple areas and so forth. So you could have higher, you could have much lower. It all depends on the little nooks and crannies. Florida, the west coast, is very filled with all kinds of passes and little bays, and you've got barrier islands and the shapes of the coastline. It all is going to matter. But the bottom line is National Hurricane Center Storm Surge Unit saying an extremely life-threatening situation. And to make it worse, it is going to happen overnight tomorrow night. We're not going to get the advantage of daytime. I don't want to discount or ignore at all the possibility of some significant surge over here on Florida's east coast all the way up into parts of South Carolina and Georgia. This too could be destructive. You can have some serious damage and overwash, beach erosion, and if you're not careful and you don't use common sense, this too can be life-threatening. So please take the storm surge forecasts seriously. This is 95% of why we bring our camera systems out. And I'm going to talk about that as we wrap up today's update here. So the National Hurricane Center, let's start closing some tabs. Latest information came in, the 11 o'clock a.m. full advisory package. And it's important because you get all the information that you need. That's not always included in the intermediate advisory. The intermediate is just like an update. And we see that the pressure continues to come up from the extreme lows of yesterday, which is certainly good. The wind is still 150 miles per hour. But the most important thing I want to look at in here, and I talked about this yesterday and again from my morning update, is this part right here in the public advisory. The discussion and the outlook, and specifically the hurricane force wind and the tropical storm force wind fields. They have not changed yet. Hurricane force winds extend outward up to 30 miles, and then the tropical storm force winds outward up to 105 miles. We need to keep an eye on this. You can do so yourselves. When these updates come out, you simply look for the public advisory on the National Hurricane Center homepage, and you scroll down to where it says, I'll just show you one more time, public advisory, and you scroll down through all of this. This is important stuff too, certainly, but that wind information is very, very important. And if we see this wind field expand more then we know we're going to have a bigger surge over a bigger area. And that's just how that works. The surge is caused mostly by the wind, the shape of the coastline, the depth of the water, and the timing of the tides. All right? Very interesting post here from our friend Eric Webb. And I wanted to bring this up because it's got a lot of in-the-weeds meteorology, and I can show you how this translates into real time. Eric said earlier, Hurricane Milton's eye wall replacement cycle that began late yesterday is finished this morning, and Milton has weakened slightly to a Category 4 hurricane, but with a much larger overall wind field, and it's definitely expanding, the hurricane as a whole. Milton is exhibiting a classic enveloped eye wall lightning signature this morning. An intense intercore lightning burst are rotating into the upshear or the southwest quadrant of the storm. This is an indication that another period of reintensification is probably about to commence. Furthermore, and this is where it gets really interesting, and we should be really grateful for people like Eric that put out insightful, detailed, albeit very technical information. Milton's overall environment will be favorable for reintensification today as well. Increasing oceanic heat content associated with the loop current, coupled with the ageostrophic divergence aloft, which is air spreading out, and its juxtaposition, which, meaning that's in the proximity of, near the right entrance region of a jet streak over the southeast U.S., will be conducive, all of those factors, to reintensification, maybe back to Category 5 hurricane later today or tonight. So, to put it in layman's terms, and again, we appreciate Eric's technicalities, but I want to make it really easy to understand. This is the upper ocean heat content map here from cyclonicweather.com from Alex. We appreciate it. Simple to use. I love maps, obviously. That is the available heat content that Milton will be moving into as it makes its way up toward Florida. And what is upper ocean heat content? Let me talk about that for a second. So instead of just a thin layer of 80 degrees or 84 degrees or whatever of warm water, that warm water extends very deep into the ocean. So the hurricane is just whipping up, literally almost pulverizing the ocean surface and making it into a fine mist, feeding it right into that eye wall. And when you just pull up more and more warm water because of how deep that 80-degree isotherm is, the lines of equal temperature as we call it, that's just more warm water. It's high-octane fuel, pure and simple. So the hurricane will be moving across that. Then the destructive shearing wind is all up here to the north. But I want you to notice something on this particular map. And this is one of the hurricane models. Look at how these lines here, these height lines, or not the height lines, your stream lines are spreading out. They're not just parallel. There's a greater distance here. They're not, like these are parallel more or less right up here. See that? These are not. That is that air spreading out. Divergence in the atmosphere above a hurricane is key, because you have to have the air coming in at the surface, going up, and then getting evacuated out. And the more it can get evacuated out at the top, the more it can intensify, and it brings that air in faster and faster. And because of the Earth's rotation, the Coriolis force, it spins counterclockwise. And this is such an incredible amount of energy up here far to the north to get that air out of there. And that is what Eric is pointing out here. And I appreciate that he posted this, because it allows me to kind of illustrate that for you in somewhat dramatic fashion with my hand movements there, right? Talking with your hands. But so meteorologists know that is favorable. All right? And true to form, here we go. It is already starting to make a comeback. The eye is going to clear out. The eye will warm because you have sinking air subsidence inside the eye. And as the eye temperature warms, and Recon will be able to tell us that, the difference between the eye temperature right in here, let's use white to really make, we'll use sky blue, make it pop out. The difference between the eye temperature inside and then just outside of it, that contrast, really helps to understand that the hurricane is undergoing rapid intensification. And we saw that yesterday. The warmer, the more clear the eye gets, we know that Milton is on its way to strengthening again. And it probably is right now. This is the, see if this is updated yet. Yay, it did! Perfect timing. Thank you, Noah. So this is updated, and this shows us the anomalies, the departures from the long-term average. And there is that loop current. You can clearly see it in the anomaly pattern here. And Milton has to cross that. And then what I am very concerned about, and I want to zoom in on this, use the power of the Firefox here. There we go. What I am really, really concerned about, obviously Milton is going to come across the loop current and make its way up into Florida here. It's this area right here, this extra area of above average sea surface temperatures right up against the coast of Florida. And it literally goes right up against the coast. So this is not going to encounter cooler shelf water. And so I want to come back on and say something extremely unnerving. We're not getting out of this one. It's not going to happen. There is not going to be this, well, it encountered cooler shelf water. We weren't anticipating that. It deviated left or right and made its way into cooler water. No, there is no cooler water. This one has got us. Okay? Is it going to be directly into Tampa Bay? I don't know. That's probably our top tier worst nightmare. But let's not forget the areas south. And I'm going to focus on that when we get to our interactive map in just a minute. But we're not getting out of this. Okay? This is going to happen. And it is going to be very, very bad. And we need people to get the bleep out of the way. You got to go. You got to go in and help people if they need it. If they're refusing to go and they're right there in these storm surge areas, please beg them to go. If they're worried about their animal coming with them, figure it out. You just need to get them out of the storm surge zone. You do not need to take them to Atlanta. You can find a public shelter. I know they are not the most pleasant. Cots, who wants it, sleeping bags. I think that's all better than coffins. Don't you? I do. You know? So this is not good, and that is an understatement. Everything you see on here in the Atlantic Basin, warmer than average. So, what does the GFS think? Now we got the 12Z. Here it is. We're going to look at the southeast extent, and we're going to stick to the 10-meter wind field and the mean sea level pressure, which, global models haven't been too good on that, right? So, where's Milton? I think you can see it right down here in the left-hand corner of the Tropical Tidbits page. So I'm going to first just scooch this through because I want you to see how the wind field gets bigger. Clearly it gets bigger. See that? The wind field expands and then it makes landfall. Something glitched there, sorry. Then it makes landfall right across the southern part of Tampa Bay. Maybe the eye comes in over Sarasota. Hard to know for sure. It matters, but it doesn't matter. But you see how big that wind field is. And so let's use red here. Everything from Tampa Bay south is going to get a sizable storm surge because of that onshore flow. Then, in the dead of night, horrifying, Milton comes across south of the I-4 corridor, exiting darn near Cape Canaveral. I'm sure NASA and SpaceX are paying close attention. And then you've got the real big problem here of that northeast flow coming in and driving a storm surge into places like St. Augustine up here to the north, Palm Coast, Ormond Beach, Daytona possibly, depending on how intact the circulation is. And this is going to be Thursday afternoon, so this part of it at least will be in the daytime. All right? So then it goes out into the ocean and, sails off into the sunset, into the history books. But it comes in, looks like on the GFS here, just south of the bay. But that doesn't mean, hey, we're off the hook, Tampa Bay, woohoo! I will show you. I will explain it. So let me jump over here to the tracking map, all right? So let's zoom in because I want to make sure we understand exactly what we're looking at here and we don't ignore these areas to the south. A lot of attention, and I totally understand it, is being paid to the Tampa Bay region. I get it. We all do. But when they landfall, as the Hurricane Center is showing on their track map here, just south of the bay with the center, then everything south of that center is in that right front quadrant where the wind is just funneled in and there is no getting out of it. And you're going to have surge from Naples north. The worst of it, let's see if I can use like blue here, would be probably right in this area through here, maybe even down to Punta Gorda. especially if this comes even more south. So huge focus on Tampa for obvious reasons. But I want to make it very clear. The people south of here, Sarasota, Venice, all the way down to Port Charlotte, I think are in grave danger of an annihilating cataclysmic storm surge, especially with any of these little nooks and crannies in here. Let's just really zoom in with this map, and you can totally start to understand the problem. Anywhere where you see this concave shape, right here, a little bit of another one right there, and then this entranceway up into Sarasota, all of that says to me, bad surge. Down here in Venice, and then it comes up all of these different river systems. I mean, you got to go. And the population density down here, let's change this map extent, or the map layer. Come on, let's move that tool out of the way. And let's look at the OpenStreetMap. And you'll get an idea of the population out there. Move this around. I don't want to accidentally stop the recording. There would be some curse words if I did that. So this shows you the population areas. Look at this. That's a lot of freaking people in a lot of very vulnerable areas. All right? And the surge could spread all the way up to US 41 easily in some of these cases. All right? So, Venice, Sarasota, Venice, all the way down the coast here, Inglewood, the Barrier Islands are going to just get smacked really hard. And then that might get the surge coming into Charlotte Harbor, and Punta Gorda, Port Charlotte could be in some serious trouble. And it all is going to come down to exactly where that skinny black line is and the shape and the condition of the eye. And we just don't know. Don't know. So don't gamble on it, and I'll wait and see. The weather's going to go downhill tomorrow. It's going to get dark, and the hurricane is still going to be offshore, and you need to go today and finish up by this evening. All right? And then again, onshore up here, definitely going to have some problems. Daytona Beach, Palm Coast, St. Augustine, as I've talked about. And then even further north into Georgia and the Carolinas, mainly South Carolina, problematic there as well. So our plan is to dot this area with camera systems and weather stations. A couple of these will be in the Tampa Bay area. We're not going to just walk away from it now that the track is presumably south, because all it takes is just a change in heading here like this, and then it starts to bend, and we have a completely different scenario. Same thing to the south. Anyway, we're going to put camera systems all in here. Well, not all in there. We got 23 total. So we're going to put several in Tampa Bay, and then just down the coast, figure it out from there, probably ending, I think the farthest south we'll go is Naples. That makes sense. And we're going to work over the next day to do that. Some today, some tomorrow. And we will also try to get some on the East Coast. That's hard. That's because that's gas. That's a hard one. We got a team member coming down, Marcel. Might be able to get him to put one or two over here for us. That's for us to worry about. But we're going to try to get something over here on A1A. So look, I want to talk about how you can support this. Let me show you. It's real easy. Talked about this a few times recently. Part of it is I don't like talking about the money side, but the other part of it is we have to fund this, and I can't make it free or it would break. Literally, there'd be too many people, and our server would just go, and we can't have that. So what we've done is we have used Patreon over the last several years, going back to, I think, at least 2017. So you go to patreon.com, get their app, and you search right in here. I'm going to show you how easy this is. You search HurricaneTrack right in here. Hopefully it'll let me. Yep. HURR. And look, you don't even have to get the hurricane. And I'm number one. Yay, thank you, Patreon. It's just the way the algorithm works. You click on that, that's us, and you go to the page that tells you what you need to know. You look at the membership area, and the tier, the level, and this has not changed in 4 years. I want to make that very clear. All of this has been the same for the last 4 years. No inflation, no price increase, none of that. The $10 a month, and hopefully you will stick around. We would appreciate it. We got so much going on besides just hurricanes. You're going to love it if you're a weather geek. But it's also very helpful. So the $10 level gets you the access to everything, our Patreon, Discord, the live cams, you name it. And then there's other levels if you'd like to support it. We got 2 left on the $100 level. And some of these help to, get your name on some of our documentaries. We're trying to return the favor more than just providing a unique service. It's kind of a neat thing that you're part of a very unique club, a co-op. That's a better word. So you sign up at Patreon. You go to HurricaneTrack.com. You put your username in here. Kendricks is just an example. Believe me, it doesn't work. You can try. You'll see the error. Nope, it's not in there. But you put your username, which is your email address at Patreon. So maybe Kendricks327 at gmail.com, whatever. You input that there, and then you go here to the Hurricane Track Insider site, and then you have the different tabs up here. And when we're not in hurricane season, we have podcasts. Oh, yes. It's like years of stuff. You'll love that. And then documentaries that are also on YouTube, and all of that is supported through our Patreon. But you have the interactive map that I've been showing you, and then you go right over here. You activate the cameras under the layers. These are our permanent. And once we start deploying the cameras, they will pop up along the coast, and you can zoom in. Let me just show you Lake Placid over here. This is what it looks like. This is how it works. You go full screen. Whoa! How cool is that? Hit the escape button, and you're back to the map. You exit out, and you move around, and you see what you want to see. Really, really neat stuff. All right? So, and then, of course, it has all the tracking information. That is interactive. You have some tools over here, like the distance calculator. How far is it from here to there? Whatever. And our buddy Will even included our circle maker. That's just an easy way to put it, where you can draw huge circles and figure out how far something is, what the radius, the diameter. You remember geometry, right? Well, there you go. Again, Patreon first. Look for Hurricane Track. Go to HurricaneTrack.com. Put your username in, which is your email address from Patreon. And then you have the dashboard of all the cool stuff that we have created for you. This is not just a subscription. It is truly a remarkable crowd-funded project that people just like you help to build. All right? We'd love to have you. Love to be able to help you by interacting with you. We've got the Discord. A bunch of people can help you out. That's what it's all about, the power of social media. And I brag because we do this better than anybody in the world with just a small team. And we're going to cover a lot of real estate. So I'm going to get this video online. Please do like, thumbs up, share, and share widely. I want people to know what we're doing. I want to know, that people are getting access to hopefully actionable information. No shouting, no flashing lights, anything like that. Does anybody do that? I bet they do. But it is very, very serious. And with that being said, I'm going to close this out, get this uploaded for you, and then I'm headed over to Tampa to meet with my colleagues, and we're going to get to work. And we will be live later this afternoon on YouTube. We'll just set a start time of 3 p.m. That'll give my back-end team time to get everything ready. 3 p.m. we'll go live on YouTube from the vehicle, and you can literally ride with us virtually. You know that. We started it, by the way, almost 20 years ago. Story for another day, but it is true. We were the first ones to do that during Hurricane Katrina, right here at Hurricane Track. Speaking of Hurricane Track, from all of us here at this wonderful community that we have built, I am Mark Sutta. Thanks for your time and attention today. I'll talk to you again later this afternoon, live from the vehicle.